Hi, I'm April. I am a singer-songwriter and music teacher, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be diving into Adele's brand new single, Easy On Me, and we're going to be talking about how we can write our own song inspired by it. This song is a phenomenal example of writing for the specific artist. Adele and her producer, Greg Kurstin, know her voice really, really well, which means they're attuned to all of its specific little intricacies. They know her exact range, they know where she feels comfortable belting, and where she'd prefer to be in head voice. So writing a song for her is actually pretty easy for these two artists working together. When you know someone's vocal range and the style that they like to sing and the types of inflections that they tend to use, it's really easy to write for that specific artist's voice. So in writing your own song, pay attention to your own voice. Don't try to do exactly what Adele does, because you and Adele are two completely different human beings with two completely different voices. You probably have a different vocal range and different tone, different timbre, so there are lots of things that you can cater your own songs to when it comes to your own voice. Think of it like shopping for an outfit. You can go to the store and pick something off the rack and try it on, and it'll probably look really nice, or maybe it won't. But then if you take that outfit to be tailored, it's gonna look a lot better on your body, and you're gonna feel a lot better in it. So writing a song for a specific voice is really similar. By tailoring it to exactly what sounds good and by catering to your strengths, you're gonna find it much easier to sing that song, and therefore much easier to sound really good. The thing that makes Adele's songs really special isn't that her voice is extraordinary, which, you know, it is. And it's not because she goes really high or she goes really low or she does anything specific, it's that the song really showcases those things about her voice. Speaking of Adele's voice specifically, something you might notice in this song as opposed to a lot of her other music is that she's doing a lot less belting. Most of the high notes in this song are sung in her head voice, which is really nice because, number one, we're not really used to that sound from Adele, but number two, it allows for a much more tender, stripped back, pretty sound that matches really well with the lyrics that she's singing. Another interesting technique that we see in the writing of this song as it pertains to the vocal performance is that the chorus of this song uses really open vowel syllables, especially the really long held out notes, like go easy on me. So we have O followed by E. For a professional vocalist like Adele, O and E syllables are really easy and nice and comfortable to sing. It means that she can sing these notes with ease, and there isn't really any tension to be found, which again adds to the lyrics in which she's very sweetly asking, go easy on me. Now, E syllables specifically can be really easy for a professional vocalist, but if you're a new singer or if you just haven't really practiced this specific thing in singing before, E syllables can be kind of tricky, because the temptation when you sing an E syllable is to push from your neck and go E, which is not going to sound very comfortable, it's going to feel very squeaky, and your entire throat is going to hurt after you try to do it. So what I want you to try to do instead, if this is something that you'd like to work on, is to relax your whole face, your whole jaw, your whole neck, so that you're almost feeling completely limp. Practice creating a lot of space in the back of your mouth and singing an ah. Ah. Nice and easy, straightforward. And now what you're gonna do is take your tongue, put it behind your bottom row of teeth, ha ha ha. And now you're gonna sing that E syllable, but you're going to shape your mouth exactly the way you did to sing that ah syllable. You can even practice moving from one into the next, like I, E. And then it becomes much clearer and much prettier and just much easier to sing. The reason that this works so well, and the reason it works really well specifically in this song, is that you're creating a lot of space in your mouth when you sing these words, which makes it completely free of tension and just a lot more relaxed and comfortable. It's very flowy and natural, which is a perfect contrast to those very short, choppy, consonant-driven words in her verses. For instance, the very first line of the song is, "There ain't no gold in this river." What you'll notice about this line specifically is that most of the words are one syllable long. There ain't no gold. All one syllable. And the only word here that is 2 syllables long is broken up into 2 pieces. You get river. The same thing happens in the following line with washing my hands in forever. It's very choppy, very staccato. Now going back to the chorus on the other hand, you'll notice that the word easy, which is just a 2-syllable word, is stretched out so much that it becomes 8 syllables long. Easy. The word is also sung in a very legato and flowy way, as we mentioned before. You can contrast this with the Regina Spektor song Fidelity, in which she sings the word heart for 13 syllables. Except this time, it's really choppy. So when you go to write your Adele-inspired song, you can start by choosing choppy, small words for your verses, and then big, long, flowy, legato, open vowel syllables for your chorus. In other words, create contrast between your sections. In our verses, we're using a very simple, very pretty melody that starts on a pickup. So that means that the vocal melody actually starts just before we get to our first 1 chord after the introduction. In the case of this song, we're in the key of F, so our home chord or our 1 chord or our tonic would be F. So this pickup starts on the 5th scale degree, or sol, and then it moves all the way up the scale until we get to do. And that do, or F, happens at exactly the time that we get to our first 1 chord. So basically she creates this sense of getting home right at the beginning of the song. After this we have a pretty simple melody that just uses some steps and skips, but it gets really interesting when we get to the words washing my hands in. The melody here just fluctuates between 2 notes, which creates a little bit of tension. This tension just increases when we hear this melody for a second time, this time on the words, bring myself to swim. What we see here is that that 2-note melody starts to actually move up the scale, so that by the time we get to that phrase, let me in, we've built up a lot of tension, and we're really ready for that chorus. And this is an Adele song, so of course she's going to deliver in that chorus, and we get this beautiful jump from sol to do. In other words, we're jumping from the 5th of the scale to the 1. This is the first time we hear a jump in this song, and it's really exciting and creates this really big, epic sound. I think it's a perfect release for all of that tension that we created in the verse. The last melodic thing that I'm going to touch on is the beautiful melody in her chorus when she sings that word easy. She uses really simple stepwise motion in a downward trajectory, which is really beautiful because it feels like we've just jumped up and now we're just cascading back down. It's very relaxing and very pretty and creates this amazing sense of release from tension. So in your song, try using a big jump into your chorus and then play around with cascading down using stepwise motion. The chords in this song are absolutely beautiful, and they're so fun to play because she uses a lot of chord extensions. We also see a lot of suspended chords and 7th chords, and all around there's a lot to play with here. I have the link to the chords in the description down below, so you can check those out, and if you are brand new to this, or if you're just getting used to playing those simple 3-note chords, that's awesome. You can just click the little button that says Simplify. When you go to write your own song, feel free to keep it simple. You don't have to play all of these really complicated sounding chord progressions. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a simple chord progression, so go ahead and do whatever feels comfortable to you. If, however, you do want to play some fun chord extensions, I'm just going to give you a tiny rundown of how to play them. The simplest, most straightforward thing you can do is start with a triad. So a triad, tri, means 3, so these are 3-note chords. And specifically, we're using the 1, the 3, 3, and the 5 of a given scale. To stick to a major chord, it's just 1, 3, and 5. If you want to play a minor chord, you're just going to lower the 3 to a flat 3, or just lower it by a half step. And if you want it to be diminished, you are lowering the 5 the same way. So it should be 1, flat 3, flat 5. To create a suspended chord, or a sus chord, that 3 is going to turn into either a 2 or a 4, depending of course on whether that is a sus2 or a sus4 chord. To create a 7th chord, you're just going to add the 7th scale degree. If you want your chord to be a dominant 7th, like a D7 or a C7, it's just going to be a flattened 7th. And lastly, if you see an add 9 or an add 11, you're just going to add the 9th or the 11th scale degree to whatever chord you're playing. To make that much easier, the 9th scale degree is basically the same as the 2nd, it's just up an octave. So you can just play the 2 along with the 1, 3, and 5. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 5. And then same thing goes for the 11th, you can just add the 4th scale degree. And if you didn't get all of that, that is totally fine. You can go back and rewind this and maybe slow me down a little bit if you want. Before we get into the lyrics of this song, I just want to make a quick little disclaimer that I base all of my analysis on the song itself, so the actual lyrics that are written in the song specifically. So that means that I am not analyzing Adele herself or what her life is like or anything like that. I don't personally really care about the real lives of celebrities, and in fact, I think it's kind of intrusive and I don't really want to be all up in their business. So when I go to analyze this song, if it sounds like it is about her real life, maybe it is. Maybe I'm analyzing it wrong, maybe I'm looking at things differently, and it's also totally possible that she's writing from a character. So don't feel like you have to look into every detail of a person's life in order to figure out what a song is about. Let's just let these people have their privacy and their peace. Free Britney. So we're gonna start with this opening line. There is no gold in this river that I've been washing my hands in forever. The metaphor here is really simple, it's really straightforward, and she kind of breaks away from it after this first verse. But what I want you to pay attention to here is that the first line is very visually striking. We see someone bending over at a riverbed, washing their hands, and it looks like they've been doing this for a very long time. So you can picture Adele herself, you can picture a character, or you can picture yourself washing your hands in a river and looking for that tiny glint of gold that's just not there. You, as the listener, know what it feels like to run your hands in a river, or at the very least, you know how to wash your hands, I hope. And so that gives us not only a beautiful visual, but a very tactile experience. We know what it feels like to have water running through our hands. So in your song, I want you to start with a very simple, very easy to follow metaphor, but one that creates a very striking visual image or tactile image, or just something that's otherwise very sense-based. In other videos we've done like this one, I've mostly focused on starting with a story or starting with images that are based in a scene or with specific characters. For instance, when we analyzed Olivia Rodrigo's driver's license, we started by picking a location and describing it, and then that allowed us to fill in the space where the story was. Adele, however, tends to be a lot more emotion-focused, so her songs tend to start with a main idea or with a very bold, big emotion, and then she builds it out from there. So we tend not to really know what the story is until a little bit later. She makes it a lot less about intellectually understanding what's happening in the story, and a lot more about the question of how someone's feeling and how to convey those feelings. It's almost like she's writing a letter to somebody who already knows the story, so she doesn't have to fill them in, she just needs to tell them how it made her feel. I think this style of lyric writing works really well in this specific song, because it allows us to have that question in our minds of what was it that happened, and then figure it out as the song goes on. In the first verse, we have that very simple metaphor of the river and washing our hands, but we also know that she's feeling frustrated, and we hear that someone isn't letting her in. In the chorus, we learn that she jumped into a situation when she was a little too young to really make an informed decision about it. And then she asks the person she's speaking to go easy on her. At this point, it sounds to me like she's talking about a breakup, so you could go even further with it and say maybe they got married really young, or maybe they made really poor decisions together early on in their relationship. In the second verse, another character is introduced, but it's very subtle. She tells the other character that she changed who she was in order to put them both first. We know that the both now refers to this previous partner who she's speaking to, but then there's this other mystery character. And from the way that I'm interpreting how she sings it and how these lyrics are written, I get the impression that maybe she's speaking about a child. It could, however, also be a very good friend, or the person that the partner is cheating on them with, or literally any other circumstance. But I think the most likely scenario is that we're talking about a partner and the child that they had together. In this section, we understand that she wants to be herself again, and in order to get to that point, she has to let this relationship with this partner go. When we hear the chorus again, it's exactly the same words and the same melody, but the meaning behind it kind of gets amplified because now we know that there's this third character. Maybe, for instance, she had this child when she felt too young and too uninformed. This interpretation specifically gives a lot of punch to the idea of, I was just a child. When we get to the bridge, we hear her justification for everything. She tells us that she was young and naive and hopeful, and that's why she made these decisions. So when we hear that final chorus, we now relate to her a little bit more with the knowledge that she really didn't mean for things to go this awry. It allows us as the listeners to go easy on her. So in writing your own song, start with a main idea or a big emotion that you're trying to write from. You can actively come up with a story, or you can just think about what you would say to this other character. You can literally write your thoughts down in an actual letter and then turn that into a song if you want. But the big thing to keep in mind here is that you want to assume the best of your listener. You want to assume that they are smart enough to figure out what's going on. Let the intrigue of what happened fuel your song, and let your listener kind of figure it out as they go. And with all that said, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please be sure to let me know in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, ring the little bell if you want to be notified the next time I post, and be sure to check out my Skillshare class if you want a step-by-step walkthrough of my entire songwriting process. And I'll see you next time.